Hi, I'm Anna Marie Cox, and it's called a narrative, Dan.
Hi, I'm Daniel Dresner, and I'm a citizen podcaster. Have you heard of us? We're a wonderful community.
Welcome to Space the Nation, where we look at science fiction through the lens of
Norm building.
And animism. Today we'll be talking about Yellowjackets, which is available on Showtime, which has not changed its name, although I believe it could go to just show, just SHO perhaps.
I believe you can also watch it on Paramount Plus for like an extra subscription or something.
Can.
So yes.
You can.
Yes.
In the next few weeks, we will be talking about N.D. Stevenson's Nimona. And then, Dan, I'm so excited. Jupiter Ascending.
I'm looking forward to this. I've never seen it before. I'm very excited to share
it
with you.
It is delightful. I am so looking forward to Jupiter Ascending, and I already want to do Eddie Redmayne's like talking like this and then like this.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Oh, I'm looking forward to
his main character trait.
That's his acting. That's acting. Yeah.
I'm mostly kidding because he's fantastic, but one of the things he does is whisper and then shout. And somehow it's effective. Okay. So we're doing Jupiter Ascending. We're always taking suggestions. The best way to give us suggestions would be via our Discord. Mm-hmm. But Dan, how would someone join our Discord?
Well, it's not hard, Anna. All you have to do is become a patron. If you go to patreon.com/spacethenation and choose to become a patron for, I believe, as little as $3 a month, you will get access to our awesome Discord, which contains lots of awesome people, lots of awesome conversations, not just about sci-fi, but about plenty of other topics as well. And
my current favorite channel, Dan, I just try to interrupt?
Please
my
do.
Current favorite channel on our Discord. I know you're doing your absent dad thing again on the Discord, so you probably don't have a current favorite channel. But I'm on it all the time. We have #HatedIt as a channel. And I created all the channels in the Discord, and it's interesting to see how they've been used for their own purposes. The street creates its uses, I believe, is the line in
the
Neuromancer.
Wilderness is doing it.
The wilderness creates its own uses. Yes. And so I thought Hated It was going to be about science fiction that we hated.
No.
But it's turned into just stuff that people are pissed about.
Okay.
So today someone posted about how their refrigerator sprang a leak overnight, and they, woke up to find their kitchen.
Oh, that is awful. You know what? That is
hated it.
Hated it. Absolutely.
Hated it.
Total solidarity there.
It is a wonderful place where people create their own uses. There is a channel called Adorables that's probably the only channel that I'm really strict about. Mm-hmm. Cute animals. Yeah. And occasionally cute babies, but
they got to be really cute. Though. I mean,
have to be super fucking cute babies.
Yeah, like not all babies are that cute. Let's just be honest here. Let's finally have some real talk.
All right, so you can become a patron. You get to join the Discord. If you join at the higher levels, you will get merch that has our logo on it.
You also get early access to podcasts. And if we get up to 250 patrons, we will do a patrons-only episode on a topic chosen by you, the patrons. Doesn't have to be about sci-fi. Could be about pretty much anything, frankly.
We would like it to not be a TV show.
Yeah. There are limits. Like we're not going to watch 10 hours of stuff. We're not going to read 1,000 pages of stuff. We're giving you mostly a lot of autonomy, but you can't.
And we both are old people with poor eye-hand coordination.
Exactly. So no video games. Yeah. No. Other than that, we're pretty flexible. So, other than that, we're totes flexible.
Very.
Yes.
You can always reach us via social media as well, although that has gotten a lot trickier than it used to be.
It's a minefield, Anna, but if you are so lucky as to be on Blue Sky, you can reach Anna that way. If you are not on Blue Sky, just on Mastodon or Post, you can reach me. I think you can reach Anna on Mastodon. Anna also has a website called www.annamaricox.com, very creatively, and I believe she is on Instagram. I am
on Instagram, yes. And also on my website, you can find out what I'm up to in general. Mm-hmm. I do teach writing workshops these days, and the next one is coming up in the fall. If you want to go back to school on your own schedule, as it were, if you want to have the experience of going back to school.
Also, Anna's a professional writer. She knows about this shit. I highly recommend her as a mentor. It's worth pointing out. Yeah. Also, I have a Substack, as long as Substack is still around. It's called Dresner's World. At this point, I'm mostly writing just to defy Anna's predictions that the Substack will collapse. Like I'm writing out of spite, everyone, and that is a really good reason to write. Much like Shauna when she's writing in her journals.
Yes, exactly. Because we are talking about the second half of Yellowjackets, season 2.
Yes.
And we're going to get to it. But first, I have a very important question. Mm-hmm. How are you?
I'm good, Anna. I finally watched the end of Ted Lasso, and how do I put this? I'm glad Ted Lasso has ended. It
was resoundingly okay.
Yes, it was perfectly adequate, is the way I would put it. I could nitpick it to death, and it was in no way as good as season 1. But you know what? I actually do think the sort of blowback against it was also excessive. It had its charms. It was a perfectly adequate series in seasons 2 and season 3. It just wasn't the magic that was season 1. And it ended in a satisfying way, I think.
I tend to agree. I think season 1 was just a very special combination of product and context. Yeah. Not to take anything away from it. It was a very special product.
No, and it's really, I think it stands alone. I think it's still incredibly good. Yeah. But watching it during the depths of the pandemic gave it an extra.
And the idea of it was just incredibly fresh. Yeah. Yes. I did like season 3. I've said before, I did like season 3 better than season 2. I liked the last episode better when I thought that the montage of the team was a dream sequence or a daydream sequence for Ted.
But it apparently was not.
Yes.
That's what,
according to Coach Beard, whose real name
Brendan Hunt. Yeah,
Brendan Hunt escapes me. He said in an interview it's real, which that's fine. But
but I have to admit, I was not pleased that it was not a dream sequence, just because, again, like he sort of waved it off, but Ted should have been at Coach Beard's wedding. Let's be honest. I mean, that's a
right. And also it to me is like the imprimatur of Ted's personality, that he has this dream of just everything being perfect for them. When that's really things probably aren't going to be perfect, but I like that dream that he had. I like it that he has that dream for them, Yes. Like that to me feels very in keeping with the character of Ted Lasso personally, whereas that actually happening.
Yeah, I hear it. Now,
also,
I'm curious,
although Rebecca meeting up with her Dutch dude.
Yeah,
really, that wasn't the dream sequence. That happened. It's canon. Yep. Loved it. Loved it.
No, she's that is an earned outcome for her. I agree. One question I have for you, and I'm kind of curious because it's left unresolved in the show. Do you think Ted reconciles with his wife or not?
Oh, I was disappointed by that lack of clarity. Not that I want clarity out of everything, but it was just kind of confusing. Like,
well, it was weird because it was clearly a plot point of season 3, and they just don't deal with it.
And the other guy, Dr. Whatever, is still there.
Yeah, the dick who broke a lot of ethical rules, and like it is hard to.
Did your wife have opinions about this?
Oh my God, Anna! Erica was furious about that plot line. Like she really that got her very exercised, and she was like yelling at the television at various points, and clearly it was the one thing that clearly outraged Ted, or one of the two things that outraged Ted during the season. And
again, as well, it should have. Like, I don't know what it seems to me that almost speaks of people who haven't been in therapy to have it be a line crossed that blatantly and then not have any repercussions of any kind.
This is an interesting phenomenon more generally, which is I think increasingly the problem with shows that have therapy in them is that they haven't quite caught up with the fact that everyone else is familiar with the norms of therapy, and then therefore not realizing, oh, you actually can't do that. That is a serious ethical no-no. And so, that was, I wish they had resolved that a little bit more, because my prediction is they actually do reconcile, but I wish the show had actually gone through the trouble of actually taking another beat or two to make clear how that would have played out. That would have been good.
I mean, in general, it's a delight. Right. Yeah. Even at its worst, it is delightful. Yeah. And also, I'm glad they wrapped it up. That's a very British thing to do.
Yes. I don't want to see a season 4. Perfectly happy. There will be that has come to a conclusion.
All right. We've wrapped up how we are, because we are just talking about Ted Lasso. That is how we are.
Exactly.
Next, we're going to talk about Yellowjackets and why. Mm-hmm. Why, Dan? Why?
Because amazingly, Anna, the soundtrack for the show, which has been awesome from day one, got even better in the second half of season 2. You know, that Nirvana song, Something in the Way, was just perfect use. The Cranberry Zombie was, the moment I heard the chords of that, I was like, yes, that was the right call. Well done. Echo and the Bunnymen, you know, I have no complaints.
They used Killing Moon twice. They did a cover and Echo and the Bunnymen, Killing Moon. And I also would point out they did Elliott Smith's Pistola as a not sad. Like, well, it turns out to be sad, but having an Elliott Smith song not used as something heartbreaking is pretty incredible.
Novel, yeah.
And I also like the actual show.
Right, yes.
And I would say that what also got better is the acting. Better. I mean, I think that we just saw depth of character.
I think they were
layers of character got revealed, and it was so great to see the two Natalies together on screen.
That was how I felt when I saw Sophie Thatcher and Juliette Lewis together. I was like, oh, that must have been a nice day on set. Like,
I read an interview that they really loved being able to have a scene with each other. And it comes across like there's something in that scene that is very special. I mean, for many reasons.
really hope the two Shaunas get to do that as well, and the two, you know, Thaises and Vans, obviously. But yes, like that would be great. Like the younger characters the younger character actors have been knocking it out of the park, and I think and so have the older ones. But in some ways it's more crucial that the younger ones do, and I think that's been fun to watch.
Next question, Dan.
Will this podcast ruin the show for you? And my answer is yes, it absolutely will. If you care about Yellowjackets and you don't want to know plot revelations, turn this podcast off immediately. Because
in fact, it might already be too late, but not quite. No, not quite.
We have not revealed anything really yet. But the point is, there are a lot of plot twists and turns in the second half of season 2. Do not listen to this show unless you have watched up to the end of this season, or you have zero intention of ever watching this show.
And if you have zero intention, please reconsider, because it's a fantastic show.
It's a fantastic show, and we're going to talk a little bit about whether or not season 2 holds up. But I think we can both agree that the quality is still extremely high, would be the way I would put it. Yeah. And I am eager to see season 2, which actually brings us to the story behind the story, because we've talked about the show already. So Anna, I'm just going to recommend that folks listen to the previous Yellowjackets episodes to find out how we got to where we are. But I am sort of curious whether there's any skinny on season 3.
They have worked on season 3 for one day.
Oh, well, okay.
WGA strike interrupted the process. And I, of course, being, a union girl,
yes.
I am appreciative of the fact that the showrunners are supporting the strike. They tweeted out support saying, it's too bad we didn't get to go on, but we want the writers to get what they deserve. The showrunners,
I really hope the strike is settled
having been writers themselves at one point in their career. It has been renewed for 5 seasons.
Wait, when you say 5 seasons, you mean 5 total seasons, or like
5 total seasons?
Okay, good,
yes.
Right. That makes more sense.
Oh God, I mean 5 is already like I'm kind of stretching.
That's a lot, actually.
Stretching the bounds of like what I think this story can handle.
Yeah,
5 more would be too much.
Yeah, agreed.
Now that does mean we'll get deep into their second year in the wilderness, which
their second winter would be
second winter, which gets us into 1997.
Oh, that's true.
Which gets us into the music of 1997.
Are you looking forward to this, Anna?
Dan, would you like to hear some of the songs that were released in 1997?
I would very much like to hear that, Anna.
Okay, Brimful of Asha, Song 2, Dry the Rain, and also released in 1997 albums Dig Me Out from Sleater Kinney, which they have to use Sleater Kinney. It has to be a part of this show. I Can Hear the Heart Beating As One from Yo La Tengo, and Modest Mouse, Lonesome Crowded West, which kind of would be appropriate. Just the idea.
Exactly.
I will say that they have used songs that are from 1997 already.
Right. I mean, and they use songs that like from the early 90s, obviously. So
early 90s already exhibit. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
They're mostly appropriate to what the girls might have heard.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
So that is what I wish they were a little more. I think it'd be cool if they were more strict about that and only use songs that the girls could actually recognize themselves. But we do have it was such a good year for music, Dan. I thought I saw you rolling your eyes at some of these. Did I see that?
No.
Okay.
You did not. I deny the rolling of the eyes.
All right. Song 2, man. It's overdone, but I do remember jumping around on and making floorboards shake in various Chicago apartments when song 2 came on. So
I confess there's a small part of me that wants to figure out if they're going to use Lisa Loeb, but we'll see.
They've used some annoying earworm stuff live.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's appropriate. Like when you're a teenage girl, I was a teenage girl. I listened to some stuff that I wouldn't necessarily want to tell you that I listened to,
Sure.
Like I'm really proud of loving Pavement and Liz Phair, but I also listen to some junk, So
also, like when like anything that is an earworm 25 years later, I think doesn't qualify as junk. It qualifies as something that'll go into a Quentin Tarantino film at some point.
Hey, Dan, speaking of things that come up later.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I believe you're right. It is time for Chekhov's What's It.
Dan, sorry. Before we get to Chekhov's What's It, but sticking with the theme of things that appear in the third act. Are you ready?
Yes. Yeah.
There's going to be a bonus episode.
I heard this. Yes. I kind of hope it's a Christmas episode. That would be appropriate. You have to admit, it would be appropriate given what's going on in the woods. And
but the grimmest Christmas ever.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah.
And they somehow make it about the wilderness god. It's actually what's the Christmas tradition that has the gremlin, basically? Krampus.
There you go.
They have it be Krampus. All right. We should do Chekhov's What's It, however.
We should. Chekhov's What's It is the thing that often appears in Act 1 of whatever it is we are watching or reading, and then winds up recurring and reappearing in Act 3. What do you have, Anna?
Chekhov's Walter is a tempting one for me.
Yep. That's appropriate, because there are a couple episodes where he's gone, and then suddenly he reappears and plays a pretty pivotal role in the final.
Kind of saves the day,
episode.
Which we'll talk about.
We'll talk about it a little bit.
About it.
Speaking of which, I have Chekhov's phenobarbital, which apparently everyone has.
Just
it was very amusing to me. You just get phenobarbital anywhere you want. Misty has it, Lottie has it, they all have it. Yeah.
Misty is a nurse, but it's weird that she has it around.
Yep. Well, Misty is a little weird.
See, it's hard it's hard not to get going because bringing up Misty makes me want to talk about the mistiness of her and the revelations and whatnot. But we have to talk about the plot, and just in case people have forgotten.
We will. I just want to add, there's a small part of me that was kind of hoping for a Reservoir Dogs ending where everyone has phenobarbital and they all stab each other at the end. That would have been awesome. All right, let's get to the plot though. Yeah.
We'll talk about the ending. I had some hopes and dreams for the ending. Rewinding.
Okay.
Moving forward. Plot.
Let's do the jacket blurb for season 2, second part. When we last left off, the 1990s situation in the cabin was growing pretty grim, with Ben kind of receding into himself and Shauna getting more and more pregnant. In the modern day plotline, Taissa had just tracked down Van, who was running a very unprofitable VCR rental shop somewhere in Pennsylvania. Natalie was with Lottie in the latter's New Agey cult in upstate New York. In the 1990s, things go from bad to worse in the cabin. Everyone is starving. Misty confesses to Crystal that she destroyed the flight beacon, and when Crystal takes that news pretty badly, scares her into falling off a cliff and dying. Coach Ben is proceeding even further and further into his TV-inspired alternative history, which got super creepy, in which he's with his lover. He is also of no use when Shauna finally goes into labor, proving those videos that we were forced to watch not of much use. Misty is pretty shaky herself, but manages to get it together. We see Shauna with her baby saying it's them against the world, but then it turns out she was dreaming that, and her baby boy was stillborn. Eventually, Shauna takes her anger out on a willing Lottie, kicking the living shit out of her. Panicked, the rest of the cabin draws cards to determine who they will eat in order to survive. Natalie draws the queen, and the rest of the girls pursue her. Javi tries to help her escape to his secret tree hideout, but falls through the ice in the lake. Natalie could have rescued him, but waits instead. The group decides that the wilderness chose Javi for eating and roast him, but good. Lottie recovers and anoints Natalie the leader. That plotline ends when I think Ben, having found Javi's hiding place and horrified at the cannibalism that he sees in the cabin, sets fire to the cabin and ties all the doors shut. Everyone escapes, but the cabin burns down. Anna, did I miss anything from the 1990s plotline?
I will just point out that in cast interviews, the younger actors have said they don't believe their characters know that Ben was the one. That's undeniably true, but it's got to be Ben. I mean, well, it could be the wilderness. Yes, you're right. But also, here is the only reason that I am saying that it might not be Ben is because I feel like the show has taken some leaps in logic that are not huge,
right?
But where they've kind of hand wavy to things, and faked us out, and
that's fair.
So
it's possible. Although, let me put it this way:
and also it's like they've in some cases kind of created twists where there shouldn't be twists, and I can see.
Can you give me a for instance for this one?
Well, it's in the other plot. It's in the modern day, so I'll talk about it there. I can say it now. I'll say it now, which is Walter saving the day.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, let me put it this way. In that plot line, we see Ben seeing Shauna hacking up Javi.
Yeah, sure.
We see him grabbing the rope and the matches. It does kind of seem like, I just don't know who else could have done it. But it is true that the actresses are correct to say that their characters don't know it's Ben who does that necessarily. Yes. Although the ropes would seem to be a pretty big tell that someone did it on purpose, is all I'm saying.
Do they see the ropes when they leave the cabin?
They know that the doors are
they say stuck. Over and over, they say the door is stuck.
Okay. I thought someone said ropes, but maybe I'm imagining
I don't think so. I think they say, I don't remember for sure, but I remember listening for that. I remember listening for them to catch on that it was some human that must have done it.
Well, I mean, it's like we just see them watching the cabin burn down. So I assume season 3 is going to start with them trying to figure out what the hell happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Do you have anything else, Kana?
I found it odd that everyone just agreed to the card game. It's another kind of thing where it's like, I guess that could happen, and they've tried really hard to set it up that they're in desperate straits and they're starving and they're hallucinating a little bit.
Yeah.
But you, for instance, have been very much against the idea that you would be okay with people eating you.
I'm pretty anti people eating me. I got to admit,
I'm okay with people eating me, but I would like it to be a natural death
than I am.
But in both cases, just agreeing to it, it seems like a step that's still further down the line somehow.
They could have done a little more work. Like one of the things I did like.
It still feel like there's still options. There must be animals out there. There have to be animals out there.
Well, it does seem like they've given up hunting. That's the weird thing, is that Natalie and Travis haven't gone out. I know. Part of the problem, I think they do try in this second season, particularly in the second half, just casual mentions of eating people. They're it's now part of the conversation. It's part of the discourse in the cabin, as it were. So it's not that it's completely out of the blue, but you're right that they get to that card game solution pretty damn quickly, and I agree with you, that was a bit rough.
And Natalie's there, and she has a sort of a bigger leap to go than almost anyone, and while they show her kind of approaching the edge, and definitely she's closer to leaping to the Lottie side than she was an episode ago, she takes it pretty well.
Yes, I agree.
I also think that there's a couple spooky things that don't go anywhere, which is the blood dripping off the cabin walls. And they also have, at one point, I think it was in season 1, flashed a ghost of the owner of the cabin, or what people assumed was the owner of the cabin.
Well, there's the eyeless man who made a cameo in the first part of this season, but we don't see him at all in the second half.
So there's I feel like there's some things that have been dropped off, and as the person a fan of supernatural shit, I miss that stuff. But I think pretty good jacket blurb there, Dan. Why don't we go to present day?
Let's go to the present day plotline, because in the present day, the police are closing in on Shauna for Adam Martin's murder. Thaisa, Van, Misty, and Shauna converge at Lottie's compound and decide to spend the night. There's a little girl bonding and also a lot of semi-drunken confessions about all the horrible shit they've done over the past year. Lottie, who is starting to hallucinate a little bit, suggests that they have a round of Russian roulette with punch packed with phenobarbital, I guess. Shauna, trying to delay, suggests instead that they have a good old-fashioned hunt to appease whatever they brought back from the wilderness. Everyone goes along with this to stall for time. Meanwhile, Jeff and Callie head to the compound to warn Shauna about the cops who are tailing them. Walter shows up as well, and he dispatches the cops by drugging and then shooting one of them and blackmailing his deputy, thereby wrapping up the Adam Martin plotline and sparing Shauna any prosecution. In the woods, Shauna draws the queen, and the other ladies start chasing her. Callie shows up and threatens them with a gun and shoots Lottie. Cult member Lisa shows up and is pretty fucking appalled by everything she sees. Misty, deciding she needs to, quote, clean up, end quote, another mess, rushes at Lisa with her hypodermic full of phenobarbital. Natalie, however, intercedes and Misty injects her instead, killing her in the process. And it also looks like Lottie is going to be spending a little time back in the committed facility. Switzerland,
which I gather is a euphemism sometimes for the booby hatch. But yeah, I like it. She's in Switzerland, and she's in Switzerland.
Look, it's just another word for a farm upstate. Anna, does that sum it up? Did I miss anything?
I don't think you missed anything. I want to say a few things about it, though. I found the chase impressingly believable.
Oh, okay.
In the sense that when they kind of go over the edge together,
yeah,
I believed it, which is tough.
Fair enough.
And I think it's a testament to the acting more than anything else, more than the script. There's that
also
sort of
the masks.
Yeah, and there's sort of a weird vibe to it where you can just sort of see that these mostly rational, except for one of them, women, get caught up. You know,
and it's a group delusion in some ways,
Yeah. Melanie Lynskey, amazing. Just so good. Yes. Her reaction to the chase is fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to point out a possible future plot point, which is Callie.
Yes.
Who, when she bursts into the hunt, Lottie stops everything. Right. And says something like, she's so strong. And it's eerie, it's spooky. And then there's also, I have some critiques of the last couple scenes because there's way too many meaningful looks.
Yeah.
But there is a kind of meaningful lingering on Callie.
Yeah.
I think there's something going to happen with Callie, basically. Like the spirit of the wilderness takes over, or she inherits some kind of mental illness. Because I do agree.
That's one thing that's suggested in the second half of the second season. Is like
there's a lot of mental illness happening in this show. That's trauma and mental illness are intertwined in this show. And Callie has now experienced a fair amount of trauma and also might have some kind of mental illness that she's dealing with as well. So I think also there might be a supernatural part of it. But there's something going to be happening with Callie. I also maybe this is the place where I say I think that Walter wraps up the Adam Martin thing way too easily. I mentioned before.
Yeah, that I agree with you that was one of those things. Like, I look this way.
White pants, done.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is that Walter does, in a weird way, share Misty's like uber competence when it comes to the murdering, and so that part was believable. It was when he was trying to explain to the deputy of, look, this is your choice. You either even I'm like trying to follow his logic here. I was like, I think you're going to need to speak more slowly for the viewer as well as for the deputy. So that's totally fair.
I believe that Walter would do those things.
Yeah.
What I had trouble with was what you're saying, which is how do you make it? How do you manipulate the situation so that everything works out perfectly?
Right. That was the part that
I was expecting perhaps it not to end perfectly, which would have been more realistic, right? Like Walter kills the cop and then fudges kills the deputy and then kills the deputy, and then people find out, or like somehow his perfect plan They often don't go well, Dan. When serial killers make perfect plans, there's something that goes off the rails. But when most people make perfect plans, something goes off the rails.
So I still don't know how they would explain the dead cop shot multiple times in the trunk of the car. Like, that seems a weird way to explain it.
Who was also drugged? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing I have to ask, and I don't mean to... I think this is pretty conclusive, at least as the way the show's treating it. Are we sure Natalie's dead? Like, they say she's dead, and I assume that they must have called it, but like...
pretty sure. I mean, it might not have seen the last of Juliette Lewis.
That I agree. I'm sure she'll pop up in a hallucination or two.
But
or
I'm pretty sure she's dead. I wonder if we have seen all of the survivors.
I was wondering whether, like, I
thought that for sure they would do a cliffhanger introducing another survivor. I thought for sure.
I do kind of wonder if we'll, like, see a grown-up Aquila or a grown-up, Mari or yeah, I agree with you.
Do they just kill Ben? That's also another question. I mean, that seems
I have a theory about Ben now.
Strong indication that they're probably going to kill Ben, but...
No, my fun theory about Ben is that Ben is still living under the tree.
Love it.
He's like the Japanese POW they discover in 1985 or something. So, that's how the show's going to wrap up. They're all going to go back to the woods and find Ben.
I have a happier ending for Ben.
Oh, that's good. Okay,
which is that Ben carved out, as it were, his little life underneath the tree. Mm-hmm. And then he meets a handsome hiker who says, "Oh my God, I can't believe you survived out here alone." And he's like, "Yep, sure is weird how everyone else died." And I've just survived out here by myself.
Bow. Yes.
And then they just leave because he doesn't tell them about the other girls, so that he just gets rescued, and then he has a happily ever after. And
he's like living in Winnipeg or something.
Or Quebec. Think, Come on.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, fair enough. Sure.
He learns French, and they're so far out of like the American mainstream, and on the other coast, they don't see this story about the girls getting rescued. So Ben never has to confess to the lie. He just
très bien.
He just lives happily ever after with this handsome man that
mysterious French guy.
Mysterious French guy that he met in the wilderness. That's my happy ending for Ben.
I think that's fair.
Thank you.
Okay, we get to how is this science fiction different from all other science fiction? So I would argue, Anna, that season 2 actually managed something pretty impressive as far as I was concerned. And I was worried about this after our previous podcast, which was, this is a mystery show. It's like Lost that way. It's like, how does this mystery wrap up?
It's called a puzzle box show.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the problems with these shows is that sometimes as the pieces of the puzzle fall into place, the show weirdly gets sort of, more prosaic. As more details get spilled out, it doesn't quite add up, or it falls flat or what have you. And I have to say, so far, this show has avoided that trap incredibly well. As more details have spilled out of this show, the mystery that was not really ruined. And if anything, I think it added to the sense of tragedy that pervades the entire show. Also, the writing, I think, really honestly stepped up a notch, particularly in the season finale. Natalie telling Lisa, "I appreciate you trying to teach me forgiveness. It's a nice idea." Juliette Lewis really sells that line, but it's a good fucking line. And Natalie being on the plane with younger Natalie, who says about death, and I love this, "It's not evil, just hungry. Like us, just let it in." And again, just a well-done moment. So I was worried the show was going to come to earth a little bit, and I think actually it deepened a lot of things, and I was pretty impressed with it. What about you, Anna?
It's interesting that you see the line, "It's not evil, it's just hungry," as death. I had a slightly more ambiguous read on that.
Oh, what did you think it was?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's death. I don't think of death as being hungry. That seems like a strange way to describe the idea of death. So if anything, I thought it was like the wilderness.
No, I'm got my.
I know you're stubborn. You're super stubborn about the lack of supernatural stuff in the show.
No. I want to be very clear. Like, and by the way, this is something else I admired. The show stuck with the thing. It's managed so far, again, to suggest there was a supernatural element, but also everything that's happened so far is mostly could also be explained by scientific things. And I want to be clear. It's not that I'm opposed to the supernatural, but I think it actually works even better if there's a supernatural explanation, but there's also a natural explanation.
I know. I think it's I think of you as just anti-supernatural, which I think in some ways that is a difference between us, but it is actually literally in some ways a difference between us in the whole God situation. Yeah. So Dan, I think one way that the science fiction is different from all other science fictions is the girls. There
are some girls on this show.
There's some girls on the show, and it's just female centric. It's in a way that I think you appreciate, not in a showy way. Weirdly, it's just about the dynamics between women. That's just what it's about. Yeah, and there are men in it, but they're not as important, and they are accessories to the women. And while there are other shows that are about women's relationships, not enough of them. And I think this show has found a way into talking about women's negative relationships with each other that manages not to be somehow damning of like women in general. Like, it's not like, these harpies like who can't stand it that another one has success. Why are you laughing?
I'm sorry. I'm laughing, listeners. And the reason is because at one point in the final episode, Erica, watching this with me, her takeaway was, this is why we can't have a woman president. This is what people think women are like when left to their own devices. Now, I tend to agree with you. I think overall you're correct, but I think it was when like they were doing the hunt thing. So like,
I also presume Erica is joking.
She's mostly joking. Yes. But you understood what she meant by this.
I do and I don't. I understand the joke.
Yeah.
But I also think you could put together a pretty good clip show of why we shouldn't have men as president. If you're talking about people being violent. Sure. If you're talking about violent solutions or people being evil to each other or coming up with terrible systems of government, I don't think that history, No.
I'm not going to dispute that. So that's fair enough. Yes.
So it's just the idea that women have this particular inclination to violence or to competition with each other. There are different ways that women have, the different styles that women have in terms of competition, but I also think those are largely shaped by culture. And these women are shaped by culture. Yes, they're in the wilderness, but it's not like they didn't have experience before that.
Prior to that. And that experience affects how the dynamics.
How they think about themselves, how they think about the world.
Totally fair. Yeah.
So I again, if you put together the evidence for whether or not we should have a female or a male president, I think you would find a draw, honestly.
Sure.
I mean, if nothing else, like
fair enough.
Pretty, and you'd have more evidence for why we shouldn't have a male president. Just in terms of like amount, like just quantitatively.
What else did you like and not like about this science fiction?
I think there are higher highs and lower lows. I think when it's good, it's really fucking good. And the acting and the writing and the ideas just gel really well. I think the climactic fireside scene, the beginning of the hunt is a good example. I think actually the example before that, when they have the moment of, are we going to give the wilderness what it wants? And Melanie Lynskey, actually a little bit before that, when they're talking about all the shit they've done. And, and Melanie Lynskey talks about, I would have killed your husbands if I thought they were the black male.
So let me this way.
That honesty works.
So the way I would put it is that Melanie Lynskey has been amazing on this show. And the way in which she stood out mostly has been the way that she's played against what would be character type, where you've seen her truly like bloodthirsty and or angry moments. But in the second half of the season, I think it's her comedy chops that actually really work and hold what could have been some disjointed scenes together, where she's trying to explain away what, like what she does to Adam Martin and so on and so forth. And I don't know, there's just a tone that Melanie Lynskey does when she's doing those scenes. It's darkly funny and honest, but also funny. And it's well done, I think.
This also worked in The Last of Us, and her character in The Last of Us, which the way I would describe how her comedy chops and playing against type work well together in both of those instances is that she has a very relatable and realistic way of reacting to her own bad choices.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
Like, I think if you or I wound up killing somebody,
we'd react the way Melanie Lynskey would. I would hope that we would react the way Melanie Lynskey would.
We might feel more guilty about it, but we'd be I mean, Christ, Dan, you would do the same thing.
Think of it this way: Melanie Lynskey is such a good actress that there's that scene where Jeff has the dream sequence, and the moment you see Shauna, Melanie Lynskey in that scene, I was like, oh, this is a dream sequence, because she was acting differently from the way she'd acted the entire second half of
I loved that
season.
Edward, electric Scissorhands.
Edward Electric Scissorhands. Yes, that was funny. Yes.
I think that's about it for me in terms of how I think the show is special. Let's move on to the characters, Dan. All right, do you have characters that you particularly want to talk about that we haven't talked about already?
I think I do. So first of all, I want to shout out to Courtney Eaton, who plays young Lottie. And I think it was really fantastic with not a ton of dialogue, but I think what she does, which is absolutely crucial for the second season, is capture what I would say is the ambivalent relationship she has with the wilderness and with the fact that she is essentially viewed as a leader. It is interesting to me that she clearly becomes a leader, and they actually talk about the power she has over others, but she's not power ambitious. She doesn't want it. And in the end, she winds up relinquishing it. But she's just really good. And also, we didn't mention this in the previous episode, but I'm kind of stunned to realize that this is the same actress who played the young woman in Gods of Egypt.
That's right.
I'm kind of stunned by that. And let's just say she's picked up a lot of acting chops because she's really good in this. To be fair, she was given terrible dialogue in the previous thing, but whatever. I also want to shout out to Jeff. They do the male characters well in the second half. Jeff's dopey effort to protect Shauna are really sweet. And indeed, to quote Walter, when he fake confesses to Kevin the cop, as Walter put it, it was a beautiful false confession. And that was actually lovely. And then finally, I liked how both Liv Hewson as young Van and Lauren Ambrose as older Van bring some different shades to Van in the second half of the second season. I mean, Van was a wonderful character. And we talked before about how all of these characters are in some ways awful in their own way. And I was like, no, Van's an exception. Van's awfulness kind of comes out a little bit in the second half. There's some looks that Liv Hewson gives when she is super hungry, where it's oh, she is going to eat someone good right now. And same with adult Van, who, despite the fact that she's dying of cancer, does decide she's the most enthusiastic about the hunt idea, I think. So,
besides Lottie, yeah.
Yes, besides Lottie, but I think again, it's interesting how both of them do this sort of darker turn. And again, it's not she's an evil character suddenly, but also Liv Hewson has that wonderful little monologue about being happy that she's survived, and I think it actually is that is actually a nice summary statement of where those characters are in the cabin by the end of this season.
I want to double down on the compliments to Jeff, who is played by Warren Cole.
Yeah.
Who, if you look him up, you will see he's actually very hot. And
but he doesn't play him the hot.
But he doesn't play him hot. And
no.
I think that's a skill. He plays him as believably handsome, I guess. You know
what he plays him as? He plays him as the aging hunk from high school. I think it's but also pretty dim in some ways. It's actually a well done role.
I think there's a lot of humility in that role, and Jeff has humility in this season. Right. He realizes he fucked up real bad.
Oh, and he realizes he's over his head completely.
And he loves his wife. He loves Shauna, and that's believable throughout, despite the fact she cheated on him. And marriages do survive that. And I think his sort of mini monologue to Callie about what happened in the wilderness,
which is his best parenting moment of the season. Yes,
is very, very good. I also liked that scene because when he discovers Callie drinking a beer. And he just kind of takes it from her and he doesn't make a big deal about it.
Yeah.
I found that really believable. I found that you know what? He's not going to use this moment to get upset with her. He's just going to be a parent. I also think that Juliette Lewis is the MVP besides, if we want to say everyone talks about Melanie Lynskey, fine. Mm-hmm. Yes. But Juliette Lewis carries a lot. and has a huge arc. She changes the most, I think, of any character in the show in this season.
That is correct. No, yeah.
I think that she carries that off very well. And also, just as a woman of a certain age, I really appreciate that Juliette Lewis looks her age.
And not bad. She just looks her age.
She just looks her age. Yeah. I just appreciate that. Yeah. She's had a harder life than a lot of the other Yellowjackets. And
it's true. The way
show, and I stan a woman that shows her miles.
Also, you were correct to shout out those actors. One other actress I wanted to shout out, which is Nicole Maines, who plays Lisa, who's the sort of young cult member who Natalie befriends. And that was actually a really good job of like a character who like originally you don't think that much of. Like she's just one of the henchmen. And by the end of the season is playing a pretty pivotal role, and also plays a pivotal role in Natalie's, sort of change of character. I was assuming you liked this. One of the things I liked was when the women are all getting together and having that night of drinking, Natalie doesn't drink, but she's happy to have others drink. And that's a tough thing to pull off, I think, in fiction, but I actually was impressed with how they did that.
Yeah, it's interesting how they handle her sobriety. I think that I talked about that before, and we'll reserve talking about it again. There's a lot I could say. Yeah. Because I want to get onto a big question that I have, Dan, like a burning question.
Please, Anna, ask away.
Is there IR in this show?
Anna, all my rational instincts are screaming to run away from this podcast before I answer this question. But you know what? The wilderness is calling to me. And so I will say, yes, I can confirm that there is IR in this show. We talked.
I was going to say, it was like, you could write it off as supernatural, but also.
It's IR. It's IR, Anna. That's what. You know what? Just anytime they say wilderness, just replace it with the word anarchy and you know what's going on.
There you go. Yeah, it works.
It does kind of work, actually. So if the first half of season 2 was about norm decay, it's about basically everyone in the cabin sort of, with the partial exception of Ben, like, all those civilized norms going away. The second half is about the creation of new norms. And, this whole mythology of the wilderness as an independent agent who must be appeased. And again, what's interesting to me is that Lai isn't really proselytizing this. She's just sort of saying it. And they all sort of drift towards it rather than away from it. And again, it's actually pretty subtle throughout this season, because like when the season starts, Natalie isn't buying this, Sean isn't buying it, Thaisa isn't buying it, I'm not even sure Van is buying it. But by the end of the season, they've all sort of moved in that direction to the point where Natalie just sort of, accepts the position of leader. We see this in the way that the hunt is sort of ritualized, the drawing of cards. I agree with you that it wasn't entirely perfectly developed, but it wasn't that much of a leap, is the way I would put it. And so by and large, I think that was well done. And I think the other thing that's interesting, and this is somewhat contra a lot of assumptions that are made in IR, but I think, again, an interesting choice is that not every actor craves power, even in Anarchy. The assumption is that actors are power maximizers. This is a standard realist assumption, but it's, other paradigms often assume this as well. Lottie willingly transferring power to Natalie and making it clear to everyone that's how it's going to go, I think is interesting, and also suggests the way in which they're sort of cohering as a unit and as sort of a single actor of all of them. And I think the other thing, by the way, is that, even in Anarchy, terrorism is definitely a thing. Because I don't, one of the legitimate surprising turns, and I was not expecting this, was Ben deciding I'm going to kill them all. Mm-hmm. I mean, Ben is the only believable, but like, it's a fascinating turn because like he's horrified by the cannibalism. And, let's face it, I presume as watchers, we are identifying with Ben being horrified by the cannibalism. But then he makes the decision to, kill them all, which on the one hand is kind of repellent. On the other hand, I think Ben probably realizes what we were all thinking as we were watching the season, which is, he's totally next in the eaten list. So,
yeah. And I saw it as, I don't know if I fully agree. I'm generally against killing people without any kind of, trial, etc.
I agree.
But I think he's making a decision that I wonder if it's an IR decision. He's making a decision like these girls should not be let loose on society. Like these girls have become agents of chaos. They have become violence. They have crossed a line in human norms
and
that
even
I don't believe they can come back from.
Yeah.
And I think
Natalie
it's better for society that.
Right.
That is actually what I believed his logic was in
I think
killing them. These girls have now become evil, and I can't let them be a part of society anymore.
I mean, I agree with you. And I think, remember, he makes that decision after Natalie pretty much says what you just said, which is, we're going to a dark place. You don't belong here. And, it's almost like, okay, yeah, we need to put a stop to this.
So I saw it less as like punishment or even like self-survival. I saw it as, I mean, it's not exactly like noble or anything, but as a eradication of a danger.
Yes.
More than like
there's a pathogen. There's a pathogen loose in the woods, and he needs to extinguish it. Yeah, I think that's a safe way of putting it. Yeah.
I have actually an IR question for you, Dan.
Oh, shoot. Go ahead.
How important is ritual in a transfer of power? Because they do that little thing where everyone goes and does a show of fealty to Natalie. And a question that I had in my head, this is not a question for you, this is sort of just a thing I wondered, is like, how do they know what to do here? But, let's leave that aside and instead go with, it's obviously important in that context. Yeah. Is that something that you see a lot?
I think the answer is that you are more likely to see attention to ritual in the early stages of power transitions. When any state is created, the way of thinking about it, think of it this way: like, if a regime claims to be a democracy, it's not really a democracy unless the party in power loses and leaves and lets the party, that wins come in.
Yeah, without having like storming a capital or something.
Yeah, like storming a capital or violence or anything like that. But like even in authoritarian systems, there needs to be ritual in order to make it clear to everyone this is how it is going to be. So I would argue that it's not surprising that they actually have to dip into the ritual, because it's a way it reinforces the belief of everyone. Oh, Natalie's in charge now. Yeah. Lottie has made it so. We've all done this. So now it's accepted, and there's no challenge to her leadership. And to be fair, let's, when in that scene right before she says Natalie, I don't know about you, I wouldn't have been surprised if she had said Shauna or Thaisa.
Shauna wouldn't have been surprised either.
Exactly. Yes. And
I was a little surprised she chose Natalie. I mean, as soon as she said the wilderness decided, I was like, oh wait, or who has already fed us. I was like, is it going to be Natalie? Because there's an argument for Shauna.
Well, let me put it this way. I did like the sort of symmetry of Natalie dying in the present day, but past Natalie being, anointed the leader. So that was lovely. But the point is that in doing this, it eliminates, it gives her some legitimacy, and no one's going to challenge her, I think.
So it is important. To answer my question, how important is ritual? Ritual is important. Okay. It can be, thank you, Professor Dresner.
The answer I would say is that it can be particularly important when there is uncertainty about the transfer of power. And so ritual helps clarify that for everyone.
All right.
But by the way, I have a question for you, Anna.
Oh, Dan, ask away.
Is there a critique of capitalism in this show?
Dan, there was no capitalism. It was just us.
By the way, that was I really did love that sequence where Shauna says, there was no wilderness, right? It was just us. And Lottie says, is there any difference?
I think you could also, honestly, you could flip it around. There was no us. There's just capitalism.
Yeah, there we go.
Which is what I tend to actually believe. I've talked before about how the show is, and I mentioned it in this show, it's a dramatization of what happens actually when capitalism forces women to compete over scarce resources. Dan, the wilderness is just the capitalism we met along the way. And I do think it also gets into how women have to commodify themselves and offer themselves up as a thing to be consumed. Both in obviously some literal way, but then also their stardom or lack of stardom, or the way that they use themselves and their personalities afterwards. What I'm really interested in, however, with this second half is something related to what you were talking about, which is that belief systems will not be ignored. that you need to have a belief system. Like there is no such thing. I guess I don't think there's a state of nature, or rather state of nature gets rapidly subsumed into a belief system. And you have to have an organizing principle of some sort. And it can be religion, it can be economic, it can be some kind of political system. For the Yellowjackets, it becomes this religion of the wilderness, I would say.
Yeah.
And that seems weird and culty and strange. But as I like to remind people, all systems are a choice. And things can be intentionally shaped or changed, whether it's a religious system or an economic system. This is a choice. And here, I mean, I think one of the things that's dramatizing is that it is a choice that they make to follow this religion of the wilderness.
Yes, it is. As you say, and as I said before, I agree with you. Lottie thinks this is real, but she doesn't proselytize it. People choose to believe Lottie. And for those who, it is interesting that this show does say something about religion. And what it reminded me of is, I don't know if you remember this, Ross Douthat had a really good column in the New York Times pointing out that when everyone talked about, how everyone on Twitter for the last couple of years have talked about, 2023 screenwriters, good job with this story, or, when like a crazy story happens, complaining about who's writing the screenwriters. Ross pointed out correctly, you're talking about God here, right? You might be talking about a higher power. And I think that's the way I kind of think about it when they talk about the wilderness, that it explains why they are, you're correct, that you need a belief system. You particularly need a belief system, by the way, in situations that are extremely difficult, where environmental scarcity is extremely powerful. This is the point, at least, that Karen Armstrong made in History of God.
I agree. And I think it is hard. Sometimes the choices we have more and less agency, perhaps, right? But there are choices. And for instance, Ben makes a different choice.
Yes.
Yeah. And when Natalie makes a choice, she looks at her options and decides, this is the way I'm going to go. It can feel like not a choice, and people, you have to have grace for people's upbringings and their resources and all of that. But it is not that this is how it had to happen. And they could change at any moment too. Like there could be a moment where they're like, you know what, eating people is maybe not what we have to do, and maybe we should hunt a little while longer. Like maybe we should put eating people down further on the down on the list for options.
I'm just going to suggest, Anna, that we table the eating people thing. Let's put it over there. Let's put a pin in it for a little bit. Let's go back to these other. Let's do a little more.
No bad ideas. Yes, and.
I think if they'd had a whiteboard in the cabin, they might have avoided the cannibalism on it. That's all I'm saying.
We're just okay, eating people, right? Okay. Anything else?
That's really good, but I'm thinking we might want to go in a different direction. Let's see what other options are. Yep.
Speaking of other options, Dan. It is the pieces of a cabin falling down.
They're burning. It's burning. Oh, okay.
Where are they going to live?
I don't know.
It's debris field.
Yep.
This is where we talk about the stuff we didn't get a chance to talk about. I actually don't have very much, Dan.
Oh, I have a fair amount, actually.
We covered a lot for me.
Okay.
You go first, and then I will have... I have only really one. I bet I think of some more, though, while you're talking.
Okay, yes. Okay, a few things. This show continually surprises me with some sort of... It might be, expected in retrospect, but the plot twists are really good. I was not expecting Aquila to be carrying around a dead mouse. That was a legitimate shock for me.
I guess that counts as a plot twist.
There was a plot. I wasn't expecting it, Or Lottie's imagined therapy session also took me by surprise.
I've been watching a lot of YouTube Yellowjacket theory videos, and that was a very popular.
Fair enough, but I liked both. That dead mouse thing was like, holy shit! I literally said that out loud, and it was just a well done thing. What about you, Anna?
Who are the red shirts?
Oh.
I mean, we've named most of them, so they're not red shirts anymore, but there's the girl with the baseball cap.
Yeah.
I don't think she has
I don't know if I'm sure they all have names at this point, but
she has a name, but I think there are some red shirts remaining. Yeah. They went through this season, one of the things they did this season was name some of the red shirts and then kill off the red shirts. But there's still there's still people yet to be killed off.
All I know is I don't want them to, because I know they did this in Lost. I don't want there to turn out to be like another group of survivors somewhere else. That would be a bad move, is all I'm saying.
It's funny, like when Ben discovers the warm place underneath the tree, I actually thought of Lost immediately.
Right. Yeah. I was like, if
because like
if there's a hatch, I'm really going to be pissed off. Yeah.
Well, also that at some point you need to have an antagonist in the wilderness. Yeah. And by the way, if people haven't read Mo Ryan's big Vanity Fair piece on behind the scenes at Lost, just a sidebar to recommend that. Okay. She has a book coming out about kind of peak television. And she has a probably 5,000 word piece in Vanity Fair that's just about what happened behind the scenes at Lost, which, spoiler alert, is a lot of toxic masculinity. Oh dear. And, you know, white people doing white people things and men doing men people things. Yeah. But it's also really interesting because of the perspective that the showrunners now have and the way that they talk about their past behavior. I would actually be very curious if you would read it, Dan.
I will take a look.
I'd love to hear what you have to say for it. It's very good.
We'll talk about it in a future podcast. Okay, little thing for me. This was just a perfect like character note for Misty. The fact that Misty had a crush on Jack Kevorkian, like that was like, ooh, gross, but totally on point. So yeah, totally bought that. Yeah.
See, I am thinking of stuff like after you talk. So a Misty thing for me, I guess this is a Christina Ricci testimony to her, because when Misty admits that she killed Jessica, and like, I did it for y'all, you know, like, and I kind of believed it. Like, she's pretty twisted. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I mean, it's a testament to the show in general that a lot of the killing, the stakes are real. Yeah. And the choices seem real. Yeah. And that is one of the things that makes this show better than most, is that you understand why the killing is happening. And also, like, for Misty, you understand why she did it. Like, you and I would not make that choice.
No. Nope.
But
nope. We wouldn't even workshop that one, Anna. Yeah.
No, that is a genuinely bad idea. It doesn't go on the whiteboard. Yep, does not go on the whiteboard.
One criticism, this was, at least it was obvious to me, and I read and it confirmed. In season 1, the cabin is clearly an exterior shot, like it's actually in nature. But the cabin in season 2 is also clearly a set. And it felt a little too much like a set. The snow was fake. There's no other way to put it. And I get why they did that. Like it you know, I think they were freezing in season 1, you know, even in when it was ostensibly the spring and summer, but it did feel a little fakey to me, and sorry about that, but yeah.
Yeah.
I have one more thing.
I agree.
Do you have anything else?
I am excited to hear what you have, Dan. Please.
We haven't really talked about it, but I want to commend the show because Shauna's birth and the fact that the child died, we've mentioned it, but we haven't talked about it. It was exceptionally well done. And particularly the sort of postpartum scenes were incredibly powerful. I love that they changed the theme song for the episode where they buried Shauna's son. And again, the actress who played younger Shauna, you know, she's got a lot of serious acting, but like, let me put it this way: when she kicks the shit out of Lottie, that anger was very well done. Like, I totally believed it. And you know,
we haven't talked about this particular aspect, which probably deserves more than a debris field reference, but I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah. I agree that whole episode was incredibly sensitive.
Yes, that's the thing. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yet at the same time carry the plot really well. Right. And she's amazing. Mm-hmm. The twist I kind of didn't see. I mean, I started to think, oh, this is a little rosy, you know? Yeah. Like this is working out a little too well. And then when the twist happened, it was kind of, it didn't shock me, but also I was like, oh shit, you know, like that sucks. Yeah. That sucks.
And again, Sophie Nélisse, who is the actress who plays young Shauna, just crushes every scene in that.
They're
sequence.
all so good.
Yeah.
Those the young. I mean, the older actors are obviously very good, I guess. But and you know how I feel about children, Dan. So
well, these are children. Come on. I mean,
they're not children,
but yes,
I it's so cool that they found this particular mix, who also really reflect so well or have such a believable connection to the adult characters.
Yeah, no, and again, like what we're
adult actors, whatever.
What we're seeing,
like, I'm trying to say they look enough alike, and that's what I'm trying to say. I agree,
and also like what we're seeing is the development of like characters that are played by two different actresses that you believe they're a unified whole. It's incredibly well done. I agree. Yeah.
All right, I think that's it, Dan.
That is it.
Is that it?
Yep.
Are we done?
There's no after credit sequence.
No discordant notes for this.
No, the wilderness told me not to do it this time, Anna. And by the way, I'm just going to use that as an excuse for I'm actually waiting for my fall semester where I've got students who are like, I'm sorry, the wilderness told me not to hand this paper in right now. They told me that I should wait a week. I'm just expecting
I was really hoping that you'll say that to students.
Yeah, the wilderness told me not to do a syllabus this year. I'm just going to wing it. Yeah.
I would be so happy if a professor... I would personally would not be worried. Not at all.
Okay.
So...
A Fletcher School professor was arrested today after coming in with half a mask and saying, "Everyone pick a card." Sorry.
I guess I'd know it's you.
Yes.
All right, Dan. We have our other things coming up, which are Nimona and Jupiter Ascending. Yep. And please become a patron and join our Discord. And until then,
keep this channel open for more.